See, at lot of places, it may be required for me to execute the same set of tasks in a repeated fashion. Like as we were discussing, every row, look at the value. If it is greater than 100, highlight with this color. So it's not done once, it's a repeated set of activity for every data, right? So those are what are executed through the concept of loops. Something executed more than once, some set of activities executed more than once, can very well be handled through the loops, right? So there are many different constructs for loops, but one simple construct which you can, if you understand one simple construct, it can solve a lot of problems. That construct is typically called as for loop, right? So what it does is, it will actually instruct the system to execute some task n number of times, right? So I'll give a basic example of the for loop. Then we'll go into our data-based examples for the for loop. Now let's say I'll call it as sub using for loop, right? Let's say I'm in some sheet, some other sheet. In all these locations, in this entire area, I want to fill 1. I want to fill a value called 1 in all this location, right? So probably it's as good as manually when I'm doing it, I'll fill 1, and probably I have to, if I don't, assuming that there is no drag feature, I have to fill 1 here, which means the same activity I have to do so many times. So what the loop is helping me out is, if I do it once, that same line, repeat it n number of times, right? Now I'll simply say, right, dim I as integer. I define some I as integer, where I am saying, then I want to loop some activity, let's say 20 times. First we'll start with a constant, some 20 times. What I'll say is, for I equal to 1 to 20, which means it's a counter, incremental counter, 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 20. So the for loop always goes with the next. For and next is the basic construct, just like if and if kind of thing. For and next is the construct. So whatever you write in between the for and next, the system loops those many times. That 1 to 20. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like a counter. 1, execute this. Whatever is in between for and next is executed these many times, right? I will simply say cells I comma 1 is equal to 1. I comma 1 is, first time I will be 1. 1 comma 1, which is A1. A1 will be filling with 1. Then it increments, I becomes 2. Because we are putting it in a for loop. So 2 comma 1, which is A2. That also will become 1. 3 comma 1, A3. Again that will be updated with 1. So with just this one single line, you will observe that A1 to A20, it will be updated with 1s. A1 to A20 is updated with 1. Now probably, no, I say I am not saying 1, I am saying I. Then what should it update with? I is more like 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. Now you see, no formula use, nothing here. It's a loop. Right? Because at this step, first initially I is 1. So I comma 1 means 1 comma 1 equal to I means 1. Now it has come to next. Next means the next number for I. 2. So, okay, it is not still more than 20. So what it will come is, it will come inside. Cells 2 comma 1 is equal to 2. Which means A2 will become 2. Next. Again 3. It will do up to 20. The moment it touches 20, it will exit the for loop. It will not be there in the for loop. As long as it is less than or equal to 20, it will execute what is there in the for loop. Getting it? Now similarly, so this is where integer will be very much helpful. Defining a variable will be very much helpful in this kind of a case also. Now I'll define one more thing, saying dim j as another integer. So here I'll say for I equal to 1 to 20, j equal to 1 to 20, okay, 1 to 15, any? Yeah, we'll go to that, don't worry. See, this is just a simple example. We have to execute it on our data, which requires all kinds of formula base and everything. So we'll say here j equal to 1 to 15. So because there is a second for which I have used, I have to have two next also. So instead of I comma 1, I'll say I comma j. Probably I plus j. So it will, so initially I will be 1, j also will be 1. After that j will become 2, 3, 4, all that stuff. Now if you see, this entire calculation has come out. Because 1 comma 1 is coming out as 1 plus 1. 1 comma 2, 1 plus 2. 1 comma 3, 1 plus 3. 4 comma 1, 4 plus 1. So this entire thing, without our interference, with just one single line, it has filled these many values. That is where a loop becomes more and more powerful. Right? Now, just to add up to our earlier this color code, now I'll put the loop. Probably I'll put the loop and I'll take some rest, because it has to execute those many times. Right? Okay. So I will come here. This is our active sheet. This is our active sheet. Okay, first thing is I have to find out the player count. So I'll use that same DNB, that same code I am using. I am writing the for loop on the top of this. Right? Because that entire thing was actually for one single cell. Now I have to do it for all, whatever the number of player counts that are there. I have to do it for that entire stuff. Okay. To make things better, let me do it. So you'll see it will take some time. The same thing, I'll use another logic once we are done with this to see a proper usage of the logic will actually save a lot of time in execution. One is this route I'll use. One I'll give you another logic using some Excel formulas and all that stuff. We'll try to compare these two, how much time it is taking to execute in both the cases. Right? So here I'll dim player count as long. Right? As we have said, player count is equal to worksheet function dot count a, correct, range a colon a, count the total number of players, so that you have to loop it those many times, right? So here I'll say, so I need one more variable as a counter, so I'll just say dim I as integer, dim I as integer, which is a counter 1 2 something. So here I'll say for I is equal to 1 to player count. Player count is 8,861. So do this 8,000, whatever is there in that for and next, I'll put a next here. So whatever is there between for and next, it is executed these many times. Right? So I am simply saying I equal to 1 to player count, 1 to 8,861. Earlier we were doing it on one single cell. Now I want to do it on all. Now there is nothing called active cell, to be clear. There is nothing called active cell now. So if I have to make it active cell for I equal to 1 to player count, I'll say cells I comma 2 dot select. Then it will become an active cell, because it's in a loop, right? So the next cell will become the active cell. So let's see. At least we'll first let me execute it in debug mode, right? So at least 3 4 it will execute in debug. Then probably that itself should be an indicator for us. Okay, so now I am not putting anywhere. Let's say my active cell is here also. Doesn't matter now. Now active cell least matters for us, because anyhow you are making it explicitly to select this I comma 2 dot select. Now we'll toggle between Excel and VBA here. So yeah, from here I'll come.